Hello and welcome to another episode of Out and About with Jen and Marvin on Genuine Healing Down Under. Actually, it's only Out and About with Marvin at the moment because it's early in the morning and Jen's been doing her energy work pretty much all night, so she's taking a little bit of a break and a well-deserved break, so she's sort of sleeping in a little bit. The interesting thing, by the way, the purpose of this video is just to give you a quick update on where things are going out in the garden. So that's why I am outside recording this, and I'll take you for a little bit of a walk around our vegetable patch, see what's going on. The interesting thing is that last night we had quite the intense summer storm. It's almost like a micro, I wouldn't quite call it a tornado, it wasn't like that, but it was almost like a micro cyclone. So we had very intensive winds for very short periods of time, just absolutely bucketing rain. One of the, actually I'll quickly show you around, that lemon tree just in the background, it was almost horizontal. That's how intense the rain was and the wind for about 5 minutes or so. So early this morning I came outside to check on things and make sure that everything still is where it's meant to be, and thankfully it was. By the way, Jen, it was very good. She put a protection around our property just as all of this burst was going on, and she does that for you guys as well, by the way, just so you all know, protection. And so we got the benefit of an intense hit of rain. We haven't had a lot of rain for a little while. So the rain was very welcome. The wind was unexpected, to be honest, and it almost looked like it was getting ready to hail, which is quite the thing, because it's, I don't know what the conversion is in Fahrenheit. We operate in Celsius, but temperature-wise, throughout the day, it was about 36 Celsius, which is warm. It's not as warm as it does get, but it is warm and quite humid. So throughout the better part of the day, it was very stormy, brewing storm. It was almost tropical. And then, of course, all of that moisture in the atmosphere needs to go somewhere. So we had a tremendous lightning, thunder, and wind and rain event that came and went. But then during the night as well, we had episode 2 and I think episode 3. So we had a number of these things come through, very localized, very intense. Anyway, so what I think I will do is take you for a little bit of a walk around and show you what's going on with all of the vegetable plants and what we have planned. So let's start the exploration on my favorite bank of trees. These are in obviously removable pots, and on the left hand side it's a whole bank of mostly cherry tomatoes. On the right hand side it's romas. So let's just come in here. And by the way, I said mostly cherry tomatoes because when I was propagating these, I thought I was pretty clear or clever to make sure that I've got the right variety properly separated. But this is meant to be a bank of cherry tomatoes, and for the most part that is exactly what they are. So you can see the whole array of them doing their thing. They'll get to be about that size when they ripen. So I'm going to say they're a good golf ball size by the time they finish up. So you can see there's just a lot of them. They're very prolific, the cherries. See, these are some good sizes in here. And the other thing, let me just zoom out a little bit. The other thing I wanted to show you is how tall these plants grow. They're about 7 foot at the moment at the top end. And so the interesting thing is that the bird netting is just resting on the top of the plant growth. And I think they'll grow a little bit more. For the most part, the plants have done reasonably well to be contained within their trellis structures, which are a little bit harder to see now because they're all camouflaged. Of course, these are in planter boxes that not planter boxes, but pots. Now, the interesting thing is, lo and behold, in this bank, I've got a Roma tree, which I actually didn't know about. I thought these were all going to be cherry tomatoes. So have a look at the Romas. So you can always tell the Romas because they've got almost like a football size, not size, but shape. They'll grow a little bit bigger. That's fairly small for now. They're still growing, but they're doing great. So that's that bank. Come over here. These are meant to be Romas, and for the most part they are. So have a look at these guys. These are just going great. They'll get a little bit bigger, but that's about the size that they'll get. These are still quite small, but in the background you can see some of those. So this bank here is going to be quite the thing. The interesting thing about this bank is, although you can't really tell at the moment because it really is about 6 a.m, so the sun still hasn't made it past all of the trees in the background, so that's where the sun's rising, just over that way, so we're still in shade. But within the next hour and a half, this whole area will be bathed in sunlight. You can just see the sun is just peeking out over on the edge of the house. So while I'm actually talking about that, let's go for a little walk. This is a bank of cherry tomatoes, and you can see these are going great. They're a little bit small at the moment. Here's a whole bank. See these guys here? So they're still quite small. They're quite young, and so this one's gonna, I'm fairly certain for the most part this whole bank here is going to ripen a little bit later. So I'll call that a bit of a late season, which suits me fine because otherwise we're just going to have tomatoes up the wazoo. This is a bank of Romas again, and you'll notice how the plants, they look a little bit stunted. So they're not as tall, but they're quite bushy, and they are generating fruit, but a little bit slower. And the reason is, and there's still plenty of little flowers that they'll keep flowering for the next 2.5-3 months, I guess. But the interesting thing about these is because they don't get as much sun as the other bank, then they'll be a little bit smaller in their bushiness, and a little bit later in their ripening. This is the lemon tree that was going horizontal in the wind. I feel really sorry for it. We're starting to get some lemons. Of course, it's our summer, so lemons ripen in winter. But the fruit is starting to form, which is great. Here's my little bank of cucumber. Those that are watching this show fairly regularly will remember I was featuring this particular plant here, and how these little arms just find the arms here. They just find their way, and they climb and they attach themselves to anything and everything. So that's why we've put up this whole trellis structure. It's about 7 foot tall, 2 meters, thereabouts. So these are just doing a lot of growing at the moment, and of course there's plenty of flower. The interesting thing about cucumber is that they do need bee propagation or fertilization, whatever you call it. Anyway, there's three cucumber plants in this little bot. The guy on the end there, I'm fairly certain that is a pumpkin that just cross-fertilized from last season and just germinated on its own. I didn't plant it. I mean, I replanted it in this particular place, but it came up on its own, which is always cool when that happens. It's quite the thing. So out in the back here, obviously, is our main more structured garden beds with all the raised beds. Okay, so these things here are capsicum, or I think for the American audience, I think you guys call them bell peppers. I had quite a little bit of a struggle first propagating them from seed. They're very fickle. And then when I was replanting them in their bed, a lot of them didn't survive. So I lost quite a lot of them in the process of trying to transfer them from their little propagation pots to their bed. And this guy here, see how he's got two stakes supporting it? I found that the other day, and it's almost like its stem down the bottom was about to snap off, and then it would have just fallen over and then died. So that's kind of what happens. See this guy here, its main stem, I don't know if you can see that, if you can just see that, but its main stem snapped off a couple of weeks ago, and I kept it in the ground. And so now its main growing is from a node below the snapped off main stem. So I'm going to be interested to see how well that one goes. I'm going to have to support that one quite a bit over here. I love these raised beds. They're quite expensive, but I love putting them up, just get the beds off the ground a little bit. So this is a whole array of romas, and the interesting thing is that they're starting to get tall. I think I've shown you previously how I'm using string on the trellis structure and tying them up, so I need to do a little bit of work tying these guys up. It's been a couple of days since I've tied them up. But you know, they're starting to form fruit a little bit later than the others that I was showing you the other day, or just earlier. So these are all romas, and they're all just in various states of fruit production. There's a whole finger over here, or a whole hand of it. They're all over the place. Now, the interesting thing, have a look at this, that whole hand over there, right? And another one in the background there. So they're all over the place. The interesting thing is I'll be harvesting about a box of about 25 pounds every couple of days. All right, I wanted to show you this guy. This is my bed of cucumbers, again, trellised up on 7-foot tall trellises, but have a look. This little bed here gets quite a bit of afternoon sun, but have a look at how prolific the growth is, and have a look at all of the flowers, right, all over the place. All those yellow dots are flowers, and they all need to be bee pollinated. Now, by the time this is all ready, that entire trellis structure will be full of it, and we will be getting, I don't know, 20 pounds of cucumber every week. It's quite the thing. So we're going to have a lot of it. I know Jen is very keen to be pickling a lot of these cucumbers, and a lot of the tomato we're going to be dehydrating, preserving, making tomato sauce, obviously, tomato juice. This is my compost pile. I'm just constantly working on it, putting green and brown leaf matter in. Took a whole trailer load of cow poop the other day, so every couple of days I turn it around, mix it up, and within the next growing season that will be really good as compost material. So there's that. I did want to show you something else. I just need to go under this little tree grove, which is pretty cute. I need to trim these trees up at some point. But what I want to show you, I think I've shown you these guys before, but I love, these are, I thought these were going to be Romas, but they ended up being cherry tomatoes. See that? They're all cherries. I don't think there's a single Roma in this entire bank. But, so there you go. I must have just forgotten what I planted. But what I wanted to show you was this planter box, this raised planter box, and it's just got little legs. They're great. They're heavy to move around, so you wouldn't want to move them too often. But I love where that's at. I think next year, to be honest, I might put it a little bit where there's a little bit more sun, maybe around here. It just doesn't get quite enough sun out in the background. So thanks guys for tuning in. Hopefully that was something of interest to you. A little bit of a walk around. There's a few things that I've done on the balcony. I've planted out the chili plants in a little pot, and we're starting to get strawberry runners that I'm relocating and putting them in little propagation pots, and then I'll replant them. So yeah, they're just little runners get sent out, and these are the store-bought strawberries. I think we've got about, I don't know, 20 of them, but each one of them is putting out 2 or 3 runners. So within the next month or so, we're going to have like two or three times as many strawberries that we can replant somewhere. So that's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. And we keep an eye out on the root propagation from cuttings. So we're just letting that sort of sit. We'll see how those go. Not entirely sure we've got the right season to do the cuttings. I think it's a little bit hot. But anyway, we live and we learn, and we'll update our methods. So thanks for tuning in. Look forward to catching you next time, and bye for now.